So, despite being a big dork for superhero movies, there's around 2 dozen or so superhero films from the last 20 years that I never got around to seeing. So I thought, well, there's a good YouTube video series project. Watch all the superhero movies from the last 2 decades that you ain't seen yet. Brilliant! So I made a list. Again, it's about 20, 24, 25 titles. I've watched 4 of them so far. They've all been bad. I'm not going to say this project was a bad idea, but it's not off to a good start. And today, I'm watching Fantastic Four, which, like the previous 4 movies, I have not seen, and I didn't see because it didn't look very good. Also, never been the biggest fan of the Fantastic Four. I've always really liked Doctor Doom as a character, but the Fantastic Four themselves, meh. Not to say they're bad characters or anything, they've just never really done it for me. So, I'll admit, I'm going in with low expectations. I remember the marketing back in the day, and didn't do anything for me, and I don't recall it reviewing particularly well, and I don't know anyone who likes this movie. But while I was Super Spider, Amazing Spider-Man was bad, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 was bad, and Catwoman was bad, and Constantine was bad. Maybe Fantastic Four will be not bad. I mean, you got to give it to, Catwoman and Constantine. Though they, like the Amazing Spider-Man films, were bad, they at least had the decency to be well under 2 hours. And so does Fantastic Four. It's only an hour and 45 minutes. So even if it's bad, and I hope it's not, at this point I'm hoping it's just meh, at least. I want a movie that's... I want to come out of this going, it was fine. I'm hoping that at least one of these 20-some-odd films that I haven't seen is actually really good. It's like, oh, I missed that one, and I should have seen it because it's great. I'm hoping at least one. Anyway, Fantastic Four. 4 astronauts develop superpowers and must join forces to protect mankind from doom. But doom is not capitalized, so is that a mistake, or is doom not in this movie? I don't know. I don't recall Doom being part of any of the marketing, and I think the sequel is The Silver Surfer, which would also imply Galactus. But I don't recall Galactus being in any of the marketing. Of course, you'd probably want to not put Galactus in the marketing. Maybe only a shadow passing over the continent or something. I honestly don't remember that well. So, yeah, Fantastic Four. I'm gonna check it out! Huh! Okay, so it's not good, but is it bad? Come with me on this journey as I attempt to figure out if Fantastic Four, 2005, is bad or not quite bad. Because it's not good, which makes me sad because there's a lot of genuinely good things in the movie, but the movie suffers from a few issues. I would say 2 major issues being that most of the characters don't work. Like, I have no idea what's going on with them, or they just aren't interesting or relatable or likable. And I have no idea what they're trying to do or why they're doing what they're doing. It's a fairly large problem for a movie. The other large problem I would say is this is some of the most confusingly shot. I was going to say action scenes, but there are other non-action scenes in the movie where I was just left completely confused as to what's going on. For example, there's the first big disaster on the bridge where the Fantastic Four come together to save people from a big car pileup, and another car is going to fall off the bridge, and then one thing's going to explode and splatter a child all over the place. There's the Thing is holding onto the back of a fire truck that's it's about to fall off of a bridge, and he's like, "Oh, it's heavy. Oh, pieces of the damn fire truck are just breaking, like, because it's a heavy fire truck holding onto its bumper. It's just gonna pull off. Oh crap! I'm strong enough to hold this damn thing, but the structural integrity of the fire truck is falling apart." And the pavement that I'm bracing my feet against is, starting to buckle, and I'm just being dragged with it because I don't have enough, purchase to hold this thing up. And then the movie decides that that's enough of that action scene, and then the Thing is just kind of rotating the truck back on. He's still on the very skirts, and then he puts it on the bridge. I'm like, oh, so it's not falling anymore? Oh, at what point did it go from it's about to fall to it's okay, we got it up and onto the bridge? It feels like there's a couple of, it feels like maybe there's 20 seconds of the movie just missing. Like there's a few shots that are just not in there and just jump straight to the end. There's a lot of things that are just not clearly shot. Like Doom is in this. Okay. Victor Von Doom is in this movie. He's the bad guy. So Doom and Grimm, the Thing, fall off a building, and I think they land in a sanitation truck? They do. It's just not, it's just shot in a way, it's like, did they land, like, on top of it and punch through the top and land inside, or was the truck just passing and they landed behind it? I wasn't quite sure. Ben, the Thing, throws a car at Victor Von Doom. I think it plasters him into a... And then he comes walking out of a bus. I'm like, oh, I guess he took the car to the face, which pushed him into a bus? Okay, I guess that's what happened. Those are the action scenes. There's a scene where the Thing, Ben Grimm, he gets really... So they're on the top floor of the Baxter building, and he's yelling at Reed because he's like, "You're not working hard enough to make me not the Thing anymore. I'm mad, and I'm taking my marbles, and I'm going home, harumph." And so this is on the top floor of the Baxter building, you see. And the next scene is Ben is downstairs in the lobby, and Johnny, Human Torch, comes up to him and he's like, "Hey, look, a Thing action figure. Isn't it cool?" And he yells at him and squashes the toy and gets on the elevator. Are you going back up? And then Sue Storm comes in. It's like, "Hey, did you see where Ben went? Oh, he just left." No, that's the door behind you. You're in the building's lobby. He just got back in the elevator, I guess, to go to the basement parking lot, maybe, and leave from there to avoid the crowds, maybe? I don't know. That's my headcanon now. there is a lot of that in this movie where I'm like, wait, where are we? What are we doing? What just happened? Did I? There's a lot of points in this movie where I feel like I nodded off for like half a minute and just like, oh, did I just fall asleep and just miss 20-30 seconds of the movie? Because what? Huh? For the first 20 minutes, I was like, oh, you know what? This is okay. Yeah, it's okay. I appreciate a lot of what they're doing here. By the 10-minute mark, the Fantastic Four are on the space station getting bombarded by space radiation and turning into the Fantastic Four. 10-minute mark. I'm like, damn, that's speedy. We're off to the races with this movie. Good job. No long drawn out backstories. Reed just says, "Hey, Victor Von Doom, we need money to do a science experiment." Von Doom says, "Okay." And they do a science experiment, and it goes wrong. Because space radiation, I guess, is just not very predictable, or Reed can't math. And it's like, alright, didn't need much more than that. Now there's a thing where Reed is apparently broke, and NASA said no, and Vic Von Doom knows this, so he's like holding it over his head. He's like, I mean, I know NASA told you no, so I get 75% of everything that ever comes of this experiment. I mean, but hey, think about it. If we make $1 billion, you still get $250 million. You could totally pay your rent in the Baxter Building. And Sue Storm is working for Vic Von Doom, and it's clear that Reed and Sue used to be an item, but aren't anymore. But she and Vic seem to be now, which is weird, just from the characters. Probably because Jessica Alba's like almost 10 years younger than everybody in this movie. She and so she would have been 2004. I'm guessing she's probably my age. So yeah, she's probably 24, 25 in this movie. I'm guessing whoever the guy who plays Reed is young 30s, 33, something like that. It's not that huge an issue, but she does feel a bit young for as an accomplished a scientist as she's supposed to be. Reed's in his 30s. Yeah, okay. Johnny being a young hothead, 23, 24, 25 years old, absolutely. Sue still being into mid-20s, that feels young. But whatever, most movies cast actors who are way too young for the roles they're supposed to be playing anyway. So which characters are a problem? Reed, Sue, and Dr. Doom. The characters don't work. I don't want to blame the actors because there's just not much there for them to do. At first I was like, oh, this acting isn't great. I was thinking, well, actually, could anyone do this well? They're just not very well written characters. It's clear that Sue and Reed have a history, but it's not clear until almost an hour into the movie what happened. And it just kind of makes Sue come off as just a shallow jerk, Because the only thing you learn in like the first hour of the movie is Reed is poor, although he seems to own his own building. Although he's apparently not paying his bills, but I guess the electricity company feels really bad and isn't shutting his power off. It's this weird thing where they make a big deal about how he has no money and he can't pay his bills, but he has an entire building fully staffed. I don't know how he's paying for this. It doesn't matter that much, but it feels like one of those things that just was not thought through, or something that they were going to do something with and dropped. I mean, if you're not going to do anything with it, then why do you keep hammering home how no money how little money Reed has. So it turns out an hour into the movie, Sue wanted Reed and her to move in together, but Reed had cold feet because he's like, well, we need to really think about this, and she just got tired and left. Okay, fair enough, but the movie doesn't do a very good job of making Sue a likable character, which is a shame. Um, Doctor Doom. I, so he funds the science experiment because because he likes holding stuff over Reed. Both the fact that he's dating. I mean, he's about to propose to Sue, but she says later that there was never a thing with me and Victor. Really? Did you tell Victor that? Because he was proposing. I mean, I certainly wouldn't put it past Victor Von Doom to assume he was in a relationship, but there's nothing in the movie that indicates that's the case. It just comes off as, is she lying? Or did they just not write this well? So Vic Von Doom funds the thing because he can make a lot of money at it, and he can, lord the fact that he's dating Sue over Reed, and the fact that he's getting all of Reed's money, all of the money off of Reed's idea. And so they go up into space, and the wave of cosmic radiation hits early, and Ben is outside doing a spacewalk, tightening a screw or something, and they're like, "Oh no, it's here now! Ben, get back here!" And it's like, and Doctor Doom says they're not going to make it to time. We need to shut the shields, which means just the room I'm in. And so Sue runs out. He shuts the shield, and the Fantastic Four all get smacked with space goop, lasers. No, space cloud. Yeah, it's space radiation. Again, this is another scene where it's shot in a way where I'm not sure what's going on. Because the Thing makes a jump for it. He tries to push himself and float through space into the airlock, and the idea is, like, maybe I'll drift in and you can close the door behind me before the space goo gets us. I'm not sure what happened, because it seems like he made it, but then it seems like he and Reed are on opposite sides of a window, and then they all get hit in different ways, but it's just really confusing looking. They all got hit by space gas. That was clear. But it was like, wait, did he get in, or did they shut the door? Is he outside? Is he stuck? Huh. So because of this disastrous space thingy, the stock for the company plummets, and the corporation is going to kick Von Doom off the board unless he turns it around in a week. And at some point, Vic Von Doom has like a big cut on his cheek. I don't know where did he fall down? I guess the shields just didn't work very well because he got a dose of space radiation too, which is turning him into a metal guy with electricity powers. That's not Victor Von Doom, but okay, sure. Fine. So okay, he got hit with the space goop too, and his DNA was scrambled. So now his face is starting to split open, and his skin is turning metal, and he can shoot lightning out of his fingers. Okay, cool. So now he's going to kill the board, which I guess if there's no board, he can just, even though they already kicked him off, I guess somehow that makes him ruler of the company, maybe? I guess. I mean, I could accept that, sure. Or maybe he's just, doing it for revenge. And then he has to kill this Fantastic Four. I'm really not sure why. I guess he kind of blames them, but he also, I mean, like, he's mad at Reed. Oh, this is your fault. But I also have superpowers, which I really like, because I've always wanted power. So why are you killing the Fantastic Four? And they do this thing where, Reed is working steadily to, I'm going to reverse this. Don't you worry, Ben. And Ben's having a hard time of it. And so Vic says, you know what, Ben? I don't think Reed's really working on it. I don't think he's serious. Instead, he's hanging out with Sue. So Ben goes back to the building, and Sue had dragged Reed off to have dinner because he was working without sleeping or eating. And he needed a break. So they come back and he's like, where were you? Arg, you don't care about me, arg. And he stomps off. Which is like some pretty lazy writing. I mean, that doesn't work at all. Oh, poor Ben. Debbie's his wife, and she takes one look at his thing, and yanks her wedding ring off and throws it on the... Well, she gently places it on the ground and leaves. I'm like, wow. Didn't even think about that one. I mean, at least they have two scenes where he goes home and he's like, hey, his voice is all kind of like this now. And he's like hiding in the bushes and he's like, Debbie, there was an accident. I've changed and I look kind of weird. And he comes out and she decided to walk out of her home in her nightgown. Which is a choice. Not one I'd make, but hey. Nice legs. And she looks at him and goes, ah, monster! And runs back home. And he's like, I'm sad now. Oh, okay, cool. Maybe not the best way you could have approached this, Ben. And so they do that big rescue scene on the bridge. And she happens to be there. Sure, fine. And, everyone's, yay, the Thing is a hero. He saved lives. And he's like, oh, hi, Debbie. And she's, no, don't come near me. I'm so sad. And I don't think this woman has a line of dialogue. No, she does. She, like, hello. She has a couple lines of dialogue, but you never get a sense. There's no real connection between these two. It's not done well. It makes her seem like a really shallow, callous, horrible person. That, was there a relationship to begin with? I mean, I could totally see that transformation getting in the way of an otherwise great relationship. That can happen. Absolutely. But the way this is done, it's like, well, either she is a horrible jerk, or there was never anything there in the first place. I'm not sure what to believe, because Ben spends the first, 20 minutes in the movie playing, oh, Deb, I miss you. You're so cute. This is a photo of Deb, you see, that I'm pantomiming. And, like, maybe there wasn't any... it just doesn't work. So, Doom... So, Reed makes the big capsule that's going to turn them back to... unscrew their DNA so that they're normal. So, Reed tests it on himself, and it doesn't work. His face, like, half melts off. I guess he just shakes it off, though. Doesn't seem to really hurt him any. He just kind of can't hold his structure for a scene, and then he's fine. So, he leaves, I guess, because Sue drags him somewhere, like maybe one of the rooms down the hall. I don't know. Vic Von Doom has access to all the security cameras in the Baxter building. For some reason. He just does. And he watches them, like, all the time. Did he... I don't know. So anyway, he says, hey, Ben, Reed fixed the thing, so go on in there. And Ben goes on in there, and he uses it as an excuse, because this machine generates a lot of power, and Dr. Doom now wants to, because he's electricity man, he wants to absorb all the energy. Okay. That was not previously established. I figured it out watching the movie that that's what he was doing, but you'd think that there'd be a scene of him trying to absorb power out of light sockets and then going to the power station. It's not enough. I need more. Something like that. You know, like how you would do a movie. But the machine, even though it didn't work, it works for Ben for some reason. But now Ben is not the thing. So he can't punch Doctor Doom very hard. So he gets back in the machine and it turns him into the thing. Does this machine work or not? Did Ben fix it? Does he have enough technical know-how to fix the broken machine that didn't work but worked for him even though Doom was sucking all the juice out of it? And he fixed it enough to re-screw up his DNA in exactly the same way? But Ben's a pilot, not a scientist, so... Okay. So he's the thing again. And then they fight Doctor Doom and win. So let's talk about the things I did like. Chris Evans as Johnny Storm is wonderful. He and Michael Chiklis as the Thing work great. They have a great repartee. They interact with each other. They have a great relationship. They play off each other really well. I like the makeup for the Thing. I think it looks really cool, and surprising amount of expression and emotion can actually get through that prosthetic, so that's pretty cool. The effects for Mr. Fantastic's stretchiness are bad, but there's a lot of it's clear that someone working on the movie read the comic books, because they had a lot of really clever ideas with some of what Mr. Fantastic does with his stretchiness. It's really hard to describe because he's a very bendy person, but there's a fight between him and Ben where he just, wraps him up, and then he's like got him from behind, and Ben reaches back and grabs him, and it just kind of stretches over, and Reed just stretches over him like a seatbelt and crawls up the back again. It's great. There's a bit towards the end where Ben shoots busts a fire plug, a fire hydrant, and shoots the water in a direction, and Mr. Fantastic shapes his body to funnel the water in a certain direction. It's not shot very well because it took me a minute to figure out what just happened. Oh, he manipulated his body, and oh, that's cute, that's clever, I like that. There's this really great bit where he spreads himself up, and he turns into a parachute and just collapses over Doctor Doom, and then just kind of funnels him up into a ball. That looks really nice. I'm like, that's really creative and cool. So there's some great stuff there. Sue doesn't have much to do as far as powers-wise. Almost all the action scenes feel like they had some great ideas, but they didn't know how to pace an action scene. Like, you get to the bit on the bridge, which is a pretty great scene. There are great moments, lots of great moments in this scene. And Ben is up on the bridge, and there's a jumper, and he's like, hey, don't do it. And the guy's freaking out, and he's like, no, don't go into traffic. And he has to, and there's a semi coming. He's like, oh, and he does the same, where a super strong character blocks a semi with their body, and it crumples around them. We've seen that in a bunch of stuff. The Boys did it a couple of years ago. And it's like, oh, everyone's okay, but that causes a huge traffic pileup, which was actually really well shot. There's this great traffic pileup, just cars just slamming into each other and spinning around. It's great. And the Thing's like, okay, you okay? And then the other three of the Fantastic Four happen to be a few cars back, and they're like, okay, we need to get up there for some reason, I don't know why, but we should get up there to where the accident is. Sue, you can get up there because you can turn invisible. Oh, except your clothes don't, so you should strip. And she does, and then she goes visible again. It's like, whoops! And then she goes invisible, and then Reed and Ben walk the other way while Sue pushes herself through the crowd, and then all three of them end up in exactly the same place, and she's completely dressed. I guess they got where they're... You see, I have no idea what just happened there. What? There's this great part where Johnny, her brother, just scoops her clothes up off the ground. And then the next scene, she's dressing. I can't believe I did that. I'm like, what exactly did you do? Exactly. So then the fire truck is spinning around and it's fallen off. And so Ben grabs it. And then completely separate from that, there's like these gas tanks that are about to explode. And there's a little girl stuck. So Johnny grabs her and takes the explosion to the back because he's immune to fire. And then Sue, I think, uses her force field to just contain the explosion. And it looks like it's really difficult for her because she does the fire starter nosebleed kind of thing. Like, it's really taxing on her to hold a force field. Something that never becomes important at all. I mean, she holds a force field at the end of the movie and her nose starts bleeding again, but it just doesn't... There's no reason for it. Okay, it's hard, I guess, but it doesn't affect the plot. It's not like she... I mean, she's always able to hold it, so good on you, Sue. And then Mr. Fantastic, someone else falls off a bridge, and he, stretches to grab them. In another scene that feels like there's a shot missing. There's some really great stunts with the fire truck swinging off the bridge and teetering over and bits crumpling and the thing being dragged along with it, and there's a guy, a fireman hanging on the ladder, and the ladder latch breaks and the ladder extends out over the water and he goes with... There's some really great individual moments. There's some great stuff in there. But the biggest problem with this scene is they never really work together. I mean, Johnny protects the little girl and Sue contains the explosion. I think it's the same explosion anyway. But other than that, they're working in the same area separately. They don't, by our powers combined kind of thing. It's very disjointed. And it doesn't have that feeling, and all the action scenes have this problem. They're wonderful individual moments that don't build on each other. Ideally, what you want to do is you have these moments build on top of each other to a climax. None of the scenes in this movie do. They just have some really neat moments that are in the same area. The final bit with Dr. Doom... he says, Johnny, heat him up, and Sue, contain the explosion so we don't melt all the buildings around us. Cool. Things like, I'm just gonna stand here. And then so they superheat Dr. Doom. He's like, hey, you know what happens when you rapidly cool metal? And the thing kicks off the fire hydrant and, puts his foot on it so the stream goes that way. Reed alters his body to get the water flow to hit him, which was kind of confusing at first. And I was like, oh, I get what he's doing. Okay. Just not shot very well. And I'm like, okay, that's creative. That's neat. I like that. And there's a wonderful bit where Ben, crimps off the fire hydrant, the fire plug with his hand. That's great. There's a wonderful bit when Johnny Storm turns around after he protects the little girl from the explosion. They don't focus on it. They probably should have. But he turns around and walked away. I noticed that the back of his costume is almost missing because, it burnt away. I'm like, what a great detail. I don't know why they're not showing that off. I think most people watching the movie would probably miss that because it's not focused on. But, yeah. So, I really liked The Thing and Johnny. Both actors really brought a lot to it. The actors playing Doom, Reed, and Sue no shade in their direction. They just didn't. There was just nothing there for them to work with. Oh, and the thing, it's don't feel too bad about the Thing's wife leaving him, because he just immediately hooks up with the first woman who doesn't. What's her name? Alicia Masters, I think. She's in this, and she's like, "Hey, I'll buy you a drink. Can I touch your face?" Cool. We're a couple now. Well, I'm glad Ben rebounded quickly. Good on him. Something you want to like develop and take some time with to, you know, have some emotion and, you know, rooting for Ben. And no, you're just gonna do it. Alicia Masters is the character of the comic. Here she is. They're together now. Good. All right. Oh, Doctor Doom does get his mask. So, you know, his face is starting to fall apart. So he has a mask. He just has one. It was apparently donated. It's like in a display case, and the tag says, "Donated to a wonderful human being, Victor Von Doom, by the wonderful people of Latveria." So, they gave him a mask? Okay. So he puts on the mask and he has a green hood. So, I mean, the costumes, costumes, I like the costumes. I think the Fantastic Four outfits look nice. They look cool. And the Doom outfit looked pretty good. So, there were things I liked. There were. This movie is bad.